Hey guys, Chris Dubois. I just wanted to give you a little heads up on this whole house church situation that the Awakening Church, the direction we're going. Why churches and homes? It's an excellent question. Well, when you study the book of Acts and you study the New Testament, you're going to see right away that the early church met in homes. So the first answer would be it's biblical, right? If you study the scriptures, you'll see the early church met in homes. For instance, in Acts 2:42, the church began in Jerusalem and spread abroad, right? There was 3,000 added to the early church, Acts 2. Obviously, they didn't all meet in one home. So there was many different house locations. As we study the New Testament epistles, we see how different churches met in various homes. In fact, the first building that a church met in wasn't until the third century AD. So we're talking hundreds of years down the road. Now, that doesn't mean you have to meet in homes. I'm just saying that was the standard New Testament practice. And there's a lot of debate as to why that is. What I'm going to say is I think it was strategic. I think there was a good reason they met in homes and why I want to meet in homes as well for the Awakening Church. But I'm not against buildings. We have a building at the that we use as the Awakening Church, and we use it now once a month for miracle deliverance healing services on Friday nights at 6 p.m., the first Friday of the month. But we also use it for ministry meetings, for conferences, for special services. We also rent it out to to another church right now, and perhaps other churches down the road. So the building is definitely useful, and we're not against buildings. And if your church meets in a building, wonderful. We're not legalistic about this, but I'm trying to answer the question why for us in particular, specifically. And again, we have biblical basis. But number two, we believe it's for strategic purposes, right? It's for strategic purposes. So, number one, authenticity. Authenticity. We believe that in a house church situation, it's just it has a more comfortable, casual feel to it. It doesn't have that religious feel to it. So people tend to be more comfortable, less guarded. It's kind of there's a feeling to meeting in a living room or a dining room that a traditional religious church building structure just doesn't have. So it has more that family authentic feel, casual, comfortable feel to it. Guards are let down. People can be more real and open and connect perhaps at a easier level or in an easier way. Number two, for connection and intimacy and for fellowship. We believe the house church is ideal for the intimacy and the connection because it's small. And I really like that about the house church model, right? It causes the church to remain small. When the church gets too large, then you lose that connection and you lose that intimacy. This is why a lot of larger churches have what they call cell groups or connect groups or home groups or whatever they call them, where they meet in homes throughout the week because they have discovered the importance of small groups and why that's so important. Obviously, it brings intimacy and connection like a large group cannot do. And it's easy to get lost in the sea of faces, right? So, connection purposes. Number three, church discipline. Church discipline. It's easy in a large church to get away with sin, right? And for the church to get polluted and compromised as a result. We see in 1 Corinthians 5, there was a situation where a man was sleeping with a woman in his church, and it was sin, there wasn't repentance, and Paul rebukes the church for not uh, basically kicking this man out, not practicing church discipline. And church discipline is so important because it keeps the church from being compromised or polluted. But it's very hard to administer church discipline in a large church. It's hard to know each other at an intimate, close level, and sin often goes unaware. But in a small church, like in a house church setting, sin is dealt with. There's more accountability. You can't get away with sin at least it's harder to get away with sin, right? And chances are things will be exposed more because we know each other in a more intimate level. And it's easier to deal with the whole discipline process in a smaller church than in a larger church often. Number four, participation. In a larger church, there's no way in the meetings and the services for everyone to use their gifts. It's often one or two or three people that do everything in the service because it's just not practical to let everybody participate. We see in 1 Corinthians 14, though, that when the church gathered together, it was encouraged of the church to use their gifts because we all have different gifts, right? We complement each other with those gifts. So some of us bring a tongue, some of us bring an interpretation of a tongue, some bring a word of knowledge or prophecy or teaching or admonition or revelation. It's just wonderful when the church is small because everybody gets to play. Everybody gets to use their gifts and to participate, and it's not just one or two people doing everything. So that's another reason why we like the house church structure and model. Number 5, the money collected goes to the people rather than a building or the utilities for a building and all the overhead costs with a building, right? So when people gather together in a home, the money can go to the people. We see in Acts 2 where money was collected, and those that had the money they brought it and it helped out the poor within the church, right? They would sell things and then bring the proceeds and freely and voluntarily give it away to help those who are more poor amongst them. When you meet in homes, you don't have all the upkeep expenses of a building. Number 6, missions. Missions. When you meet in homes, the home becomes a missionary hub, and you reach the neighborhood in that area. So as the church grows, what happens is we meet in various different homes in different locations, and now we can reach those locations. Whereas if we're just one building meeting in just one location, well, we can hit that neighborhood, but we're kind of limited there, and we're hoping that the people in the church go into their sphere of influence wherever they live and spread the gospel. But that doesn't always happen. That's the ideal. But when you meet in a house church, and as a church together, you witness and evangelize in that specific area, and then you plant a lot more house churches, and you start to reach all those areas and neighborhoods, you can see how they can become strategic missionally as missionary hubs as you do life together and share the gospel in the neighborhoods in that area where the home is located. Also, what am I on? Number 7, I believe. It's easier for an elder or two. The ideal is to have a team of elders, but however many elders are leading the house church, it's easier for them to shepherd the local church when it's small than when it's large, right? So this is why when the church gets large, you need a lot of elders, because it's easy for the elders to burn out when it gets too many people, right? So it's beautiful to have a house church for the elders, for the leaders that lead and shepherd these churches, because they can really get to know their people, because the church is so small in homes as opposed to larger churches where often the elders don't really know the people intimately and closely because there are only one or two people, right? So there's only a few of them for a large amount of people. And so it's easier for them to keep track of people and where they're at and their struggles and their sins and their victories in their life, and just really be involved with them. So those are some of the reasons we like the house church model, and why we have specifically at the Awakening Church have chosen to go the house model road. The 4 things that we make minimal to be part of these house churches is found in Acts 2:42. The 4 things that they did when they gathered together: the apostles' teaching, they taught the scriptures, fellowship, the breaking of bread, which they would have shared a meal together, so there was food involved, and they would have fellowship during the meal, and then of course prayer. And so we make that the minimal requirements of every house church, and some of them add to that different things like worship music, etc., which is wonderful and ideal if they can do that. But all of them can do those four things. And we like it also because the house church model is just simple. It's just so simple. So anyways, that's what the direction we're going and the structure we're having. And we're just hoping that we can plant more and more house churches. And if you're ever interested in starting a house church, just visit our website, www.the-awakening.online, www.the-awakening.online, and you'll see there's a link there where you can click on about starting a house church. And we would be glad to help you get that started, raise up elders and deacons, evangelize the area where your house is at, help you to get souls saved so you can get people attending your house church. And so if you're interested, visit our website and we'd be glad to reach out to you, John and I, and help you get that started. There's a lot of people that do want to start a house church, but they just want some help from the outside, and that's what we're all about, the Awakening Church. All right, well, God bless you guys, and may there be more and more healthy church plants worldwide, churches that are gospel-centered, that are biblical, that are spirit-filled, that are healthy, mature, and giving God all the glory and honor, and whether those meet in a building or a home. We just pray that many church plants will happen, because when we have healthy churches, we have a healthy nation, right? And it's so important for our neighborhoods to see healthy churches burn bright for Jesus and to spread the gospel. Amen. God bless you guys.